From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Wednesday, May 28, 2025. Gas is back with a vengeance in Queensland, with the Crisafulli Liberal government to unlock 16,000 square kilometres for exploration to address looming energy shortages. Sydney University's latest recruit is genuine royalty. Princess of Norway Ingrid Alexandra Glucksberg, 21, is to study a Bachelor of Arts, but the usual jokes about arts grads don't apply. This one is second in line to the throne and will one day be Queen Ingrid. You can read our colleague Richard Ferguson's hilarious take on that story right now at theaustralian.com.au. Erin Patterson told police she'd never foraged for mushrooms and didn't own a dehydrator, even after police had seized CCTV showing Patterson dumping a dehydrator at a tip. Today, we're bringing you Erin Patterson's police interview, recreated by voice actors after it was played at the Supreme Court trial where she's pleaded not guilty to murder.
My name's Luke Farrell, Detective Sergeant. The reason we're here today is to execute a search warrant.
Sure.
And it's in connection with the death of 2 people over the last couple of days.
Who died?
That's the opening moment of a day that's become very important in the trial of Erin Patterson, the Victorian mother of 2 who's accused of murdering 3 elderly relatives and attempting to murder a 4th. She has pleaded not guilty. At 11:40am on August 5, 2023, 4 police officers showed up at Patterson's home on the outskirts of Leongatha, a small community in Victoria's Gippsland. Homicide detective Luke Farrell took the lead, and after that exchange on the doorstep, the officers spent 4 hours combing through the house. On Tuesday, prosecutor Jane Warren took Detective Sergeant Farrell through photos taken on the day.
And on the bench there, what do we see?
That is a cookbook. Recipe Tin Eats. Dinner cookbook.
Did you open the book and look inside the book at the time of locating this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did you locate a recipe of relevance to your inquiries?
Yes, it wasn't a bookmark page, but on a separate page there was a beef Wellington recipe, yes. And that page was spattered with cooking liquids.
The cops went through the house seizing electronic devices and other items. And then they took Erin Patterson to Wonthaggi Police Station to answer some questions. Today we're going to voice act for you that interview, which was recorded on video and played to the jury on Tuesday. The interviewing officer was Detective Leading Senior Constable Stephen Eppingstall of Victoria Police's Homicide Squad. He's the lead investigator in this matter. Eppingstall told the court one of his first actions in the case, on August 4, 5 days after the lunch, was to ask a tactical intelligence officer, Detective Senior Constable Meg Crawford, to begin looking through Erin Patterson's records, including bank details. Crawford found a transaction from 2 days earlier, August 2, made by Erin Patterson at the Coonawarra Transfer Station, the local tip. Police obtained CCTV of Patterson at the tip and visited to recover the item she'd deposited, a black Sunbeam food dehydrator. After searching Patterson's home, Eppingstall was ready to ask his questions.
This is a DVD-recorded interview between Detective Leading Senior Constable Stephen Eppingstall and Erin Patterson of Leongatha, conducted at the Wonthaggi Police Station on Saturday, the 5th of August, 2023. The other person present is my corroborator.
Detective Senior Constable David Martin.
Erin, do you agree the time is now 4:41 by my watch?
Yep.
Could you please state your full name and address for me?
Erin Trudy Patterson, Leongatha.
Now, as we discussed earlier, and we've been together for a few hours now, it was after 11:30 that we came to your house today. We want to discuss the deaths of Heather Wilkinson and Gail Patterson today with you. When we were at the house earlier, we discussed that you hadn't really been kept in the loop, and it had come as news to you that Heather and Gail had both passed away. Following eating at your house, Donald, Ian, Gail and Heather all became so ill that they ultimately ended up in the intensive care unit at both Dandenong Hospital and then moved to Austin Hospital. Following that, they've had a deterioration in their condition, that they've become so ill that their livers have failed. All right? Donald underwent a transplant last night, okay? And his condition is still extremely critical. As I advised before, Heather and Gail have passed away. In relation to Ian, I don't have a current prognosis in relation to where he's at. We're trying to understand what has made them so ill. Do you understand why we're asking these questions?
Yeah.
On the other hand, conversely, we're trying to understand why you're not that ill. Do you understand why we're interviewing you today?
Yep, I do. But I'm sure you understand too that I've never been in a situation like this before, and I've been very, very helpful with the health department through the week because I wanted to help that side of things as much as possible because I do want to know what happened. So I've given them as much information as they've asked for and offered up all the food and all the information about where the food came from.
At the house, and I must say, for the record again, you were very helpful at the house, and you did point out a couple of things for us that will help us with our investigation. Mainly, the fruit platter that you said Heather bought for you, and the gravy in the fridge, or the pantry that you said was from the night and you kept on advice from the health department. So thank you for that. You also pointed out a recipe book on the counter and you referred me to page 250 odd, the recipe for beef Wellington, and you indicated that was the recipe you'd cooked. We didn't see a lot of food from Asian grocers or Indian grocers or those kinds of stores.
Did you look in my fridge? I've got a lot of Asian cooking stuff in my fridge.
Are we likely to find more of that kind of stuff at the Mount Waverley address? Do you think, or...?
No, because I did a big clean out of the pantry, which is the last time that I was there, because I'm going to sell that place.
Obviously, we've got concerns in relation to the mushrooms and where they've come from. Is that something you've done in the past, foraging for mushrooms or anything like that?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Do you preserve foods or anything like that?
No.
Have you ever dehydrated food or anything?
No.
Coming up, more of Erin Patterson's police interview. That's after the break.
You've described the relationship with your ex-partner Simon. I'd like to understand why you had his parents and his uncle and aunt over for lunch.
Because I've no other family, and they've always been really good to me, and I want to maintain those relationships with them in spite of what's happened with Simon. I love them a lot. They've always been really good to me, and they always said to me that they would support me with love and emotional support, even though Simon and I were separated, and I really appreciated that. Because my parents are both gone, my grandparents are all gone. They're the only family that I've got, and they're the only grandparents that my children have. And I want them to stay in my kids' life, and that's really important to me. I think Simon hated that I still had a relationship with his parents, but I loved them. Nothing that's ever happened between us, nothing he's ever done to me, will change the fact that they are good, decent people that have never done anything wrong by me. Ever.
So we've been told that on the 31st of July, so 2 days after the lunch, you went to the Leongatha Hospital. I think you were only there for about 5 minutes and then you left. Can you explain why you went there for 5 minutes?
Yeah, because I just went there thinking I needed a couple of bags of saline because I was really dehydrated. And they said they want to admit me and send me to Melbourne. And when you've got animals at home and children who have multiple after-school activities, you can't just be told to drop everything and you're off to Melbourne for the night. So I had to go home and feed the animals and pack my daughter's ballet bag. And I did that and I went back.
Who did you speak to?
So I walked in and there was I don't think they were a nurse. It was I don't know, it could have been an enrolled nurse, or it was to help a person in the triage room, right? And she says are you okay? And I said, well, no, I have to run to the toilet. I've got diarrhea. And she wasn't quite sure where it was. And so she went and found out and showed me where it is. And then she said, I'll go and find someone. I'll get a nurse or a doctor for you. And so I went to the toilet. I came back out. I was waiting in the triage area, and then a doctor came out, Dr. Webster, and he said to me, "Sorry, we're going to be a little while because we've got a couple of critical patients in the hospital." And I said, "That's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm just a gastro case. I'm not urgent, obviously." And he said, "Oh, what's your name?" And I said, "Erin." And he said, "Oh, we've been expecting you because other people that you ate with on Saturday are sick." And he said, "Can you come through?" And I said, "Sure." And then he said to me, I can't remember the exact words, but he said something along the lines of, "We've got a concern that they've eaten death cap mushrooms." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, that's what we think they've eaten." And then started asking me about what food I served them, and I told him.
All right. I understand you went down to the hospital and got treatment and that. What kind of treatment did you get?
Oh, they hooked me up to a drip. They said that they were concerned. So Dr. Webster had to leave. I think he was at the end of his shift, and he passed on to another doctor. And she said to me, because the concern is that everybody's eaten something that hurts your liver, we need to give you this protective medicine. And so there was saline or something or other. But she said, we need to get you this and then put you in an ambulance up to Melbourne where they can give you more, where they can get you better. So I got saline and other stuff.
How long were you at the hospital for?
Till Tuesday.
And again, full disclosure so you understand, we've obtained warrants to medical records for everyone involved in this. So we'll get medical records in relation to treatment there as well.
Sure.
You were at home in person when we did a search warrant today, right? And like I said, we'll give you a little copy of this, everything we've seized. Kitchen, far left bottom drawer. Instruction manual for a Sunbeam Food Lab electronic dehydrator. What's that in relation to? You know anything about a dehydrator in your house?
No.
Do you own a dehydrator?
No.
Oh.
I've got manuals of lots of stuff like that. Over the years, I've had all sorts of appliances and I just keep them all.
Okay. When did you own a dehydrator?
About 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay. What did you use that for?
Like when I first got the Thermomix, I got really excited about making everything from scratch, and I did get a lot of, like everything from scratch, ingredients, and I did a lot of that. So we'll have something like that.
Okay. Kitchen bench, located against the wall. Recipe Tin Eats book.
That's that recipe book.
That's the same book the Wellington recipe comes out of. While I think of it, one other thing that I should mention again, to your credit, police went around the house on that morning, on the 31st, and they were obviously responding to the hospital call to check up on you. And they spoke to you on the phone and you gave them the PIN code for your gate and directed them to the bin where there were some leftovers. What were those leftovers that you directed them to?
Uneaten food from the lunch.
So you helped them getting that, so it would be sampled.
Because my kids ate them too. So there was stuff that was left over and it went straight in the bin. And so when I went to the hospital and they said they were concerned that everyone ate some contaminated food, I said, well, there's the leftovers in the bin. You can have it. Feel free to look through it. And I said, I'll go and get it if you want. And they said, that's fine. You need to go on a drip. We'll call the police. And I said, well, that's fine. Just let them know I need to give them a PIN code. So they did that and a bag of food appeared a bit later.
Yep. So again, thank you for helping us locate that. All right, Erin. Do you agree the time is now 5:30 p.m. by my watch? All right, I'm going to suspend the interview now.
The video stopped and Justice Christopher Beale told the jury that irrelevant material had been edited out of the video. Prosecutor Jane Warren confirmed with Stephen Eppingstall that Don Patterson died later that night. A few weeks later, Ian Wilkinson was released from hospital and police continued their inquiries.
As a result of those inquiries, was the accused arrested by police on the 2nd of November 2023 and formally charged?
Yes, ma'am.
Erin Patterson has consistently denied deliberately poisoning anyone and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial continues on Wednesday. The Australian subscribers get all our live coverage plus the reporting from our team on the ground, John Ferguson and Ellie Dudley. Check it out at theaustralian.com.au.